Hi, writers. Welcome to episode number 69 of How Do You Write? I'm your host, Rachael Herron, and as ever, I am so glad that you're here. We have a really special show today. It is my first threesome show. I was so pleased to talk to Jeff Adams and Will Knauss. They are writers and husbands, and they run together Jeff and Will's Big Gay Fiction podcast, which is an awesome show. I can't recommend it more highly. Go check it out. And they are just so fun to talk to, and they really know what they're doing and what they're talking about. And it was just a joy to talk to them. So you'll enjoy the interview portion of the show. In update, I kind of have a lot to say. So, get comfy, get a cup of tea. But I took last week off. It was Thanksgiving 2017, and I just said, I've taken the week off, which feels really good when I do that. And I've been just doing a lot of thinking about, don't roll your eyes, gratitude in a non-cheesy, non-Hallmark kind of way. I seem to have run up against this huge wellspring of gratitude in myself for the place that I am. The fact that I am able to sit here and talk to you. The fact, and this is huge, that particularly this week, and I don't know if this is because everybody else is feeling grateful, but I have been hearing some really wonderful things about me and my teaching and the podcast and my classes. And just this week, I've had 3 people in particular, Lefty, Thomas, and Stephanie. Lefty's a listener. Thomas is in my novel class at Berkeley. Stephanie's in my memoir class at Stanford. And separately, they've all come to me and said things to me that make me feel honestly humble and like perhaps I'm in the right spot, and I have to share something with you. I always thought that there would be no better feeling in the world, besides love and sex and all the really, really good feelings. But I thought there would be no better feeling in the world than someone telling you that they loved your book, that something you wrote affected them and changed them for the better. That was always my goal. It does feel incredible when that happens. And I didn't think anything could feel better. Apparently something can. When someone tells me that I have helped them be a writer or be more serious about what they're doing, or that they feel believed in, that they are worthy of being a writer, which, hello, if you're listening to this, you are worthy of being a writer. Go get it. But hearing that actually feels more incredible. I was brought to tears a couple of times this week, and I have told you I don't cry easily. I'm quite stable in the emotions. I have I go up and down, but I don't waver too much. But people telling me this has really kind of knocked me back on my heels, and it makes me feel like I'm in the right place. It makes me want to continue doing this podcast, continue talking to you, continue talking to Jay on the pedal to the metal, continue teaching, continue coaching, although I have almost no time to do that right now. I do love it. And I just can't imagine how I got here. And on the other hand, I know exactly how I got here. I've been working really hard at this for the last 11 years, since 2006. I've been working even harder for the last year and a half, almost 2 years that I have been writing full time. And if you read my blog or get my email, you may have heard some of these things already. But I went outside on the porch the other day and, letting the dogs out. And there was a beautiful late November cold air with the scent of wood smoke in the air, which is just, top 5 for me in terms of scents. And I'm really a scent driven person. And I realized something. It just felt different, and it's been feeling different every time I've smelled that smell this winter, this fall. Whenever I have ever smelled that wood smoke fall winter smell, I have always felt a longing, an ache, almost a pre-nostalgia, a wish to have my life be the life that I want it to be. Even when I was a kid, that smell told me someday I'll be in the place that I am meant to be, that I feel like I should be, that I want to be. And this month, it's just been smelling wonderful. There's no nostalgia evoked. There's no longing. There's no ache. There's just like this, oh man, that smells good. Like so does barbecue. And I analyzed it, and I think that, and I feel like I'm tempting fate by saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel like I'm in the right place right now. I am 45. Who knows how many years I have being healthy left. Who knows how many years the people I love most in the world have being healthy. Right now, knock wood, we're healthy. I love this house. I love my wife. I love these loud ass dogs who are always under my feet. I love my jobs. I love my writing. I love my teaching. It's this crystalline, perfect moment. And I know enough about entropy and how nothing stays the same. All is change. I know enough about that really focusing on how grateful I am right now feels incredible. I keep using that word incredible. I am overusing that word on this podcast today, but and this is not, I don't want to make this like a brag thing. It is, I'm not trying to brag. Although now I worry that I'm sounding like that. It's just that I'm so grateful, again, sitting here. I'm going to get off of this subject because I'm already boring myself. But in terms of projects and things that excite me, I have also been thinking a lot about the fact that I have lately been feeling, while happy, very happy, I've also been feeling really creatively drained. It's been hard. You've heard me talk for the last few months. It's been hard for me to get to the page, to stick to the page, to send things out. That's been really difficult for me. And I think it might be because I always fit writing in around my life. And because I had to fit writing in around my life, I had a life. When I went full time, my life became writing. And I fit experiences and friendships and all the other stuff around the writing. I think that I have forgotten to fill this proverbial creative well. I've just been feeling really, really dry. I've been doing all this stuff, but I haven't been feeling it as much. And I have been having to look harder to find inspiration. And I'm going to fix that. I have rejiggered my Patreon essays that go out once a month. They have been about creativity. That is in the process of being made into a book. My agent is taking that out. It already is a good book. I'm really, really happy with the essays that I have already provided. However, I kind of lost interest in just thinking about creativity and writing an essay about something because I feel like I already covered a lot of facets of it. So I had this idea to do this year-long challenge. I love a year-long challenge memoir. It's one of my favorite genres to read. If somebody does something crazy for a year, I want to read every single detail about it. So I'm making up this challenge kind of based a little bit on Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And here it is. I'm just going to lay it out what I'm doing. For the next year, from December, which started today as I record, is December 1st, 2017, all the way up until the end of November 2018. I'm going to spend 12 months filling the well. Each month, I have a different theme, and every day I participate in that theme somehow. I remember that as a creative person, I have to be living, not just staring at a computer all the time. So December, I'm easing in. Reading is one of my top ways to refill myself. And but I work too much. I spend too much time on the computer. When I'm not on the computer, I'm spending hours reading Twitter because I love Twitter, even though it's the devil. And I don't watch much TV, but I do watch some. So December, I am off social media. I will post to it and respond to people who interact with me, but I'm not going to read Twitter or Facebook. I'm also going to try to avoid most television. And just read. I'm only going to read things that I love. As soon as a book bores me and I don't think it can get me back, I'm going to throw it against the virtual Kindle wall. I'm also going to try to read some of these books that rest behind me in my office right now. All these books you see behind me, they're basically on my TBR pile, and they have been for a while. I bought them for a reason, or they were given to me for a reason. It's sometimes hard for me to read paper books because we have all kind of gotten lazy. I like to read my Kindle, but I am going to just read as much as possible. I'm also going to track how I'm feeling through the year, because there's no reason to do this if it's not helping. Other months will include things like I have a meditation spirituality month. I have a movement month where I just have to move my body in a different way, in a way that I don't normally do. I have an outdoors month where I have to spend an hour outside every day. I have a water month where I must put my body into water once a day, whether that's swimming in the beach or in the bathtub or the Mills pool. I have a really exciting month in March where I hope I will be on vacation all month. I cannot imagine that I will pull that off, and I do have to teach a class that month, but it's really kind of an easy class to teach. It almost teaches itself, so I'm not worried about that. But so I have these. I've got a cooking month, a gardening month, and I found an app, and I'm just going to tell you about it. I don't know if it's any good yet. I haven't actually fired it up, but I've heard good things about it. It's called Exist, and apparently you can link it with everything else you're already doing. So it can tell you, hey, you're happier on a day that you post more Instagram pictures, or, but what I'm really using it for is you can put in your own thing that you're tracking, and I'm going to be tracking my creativity and how I feel, like my baseline of inspiration, and how that feels going up and down, because it's very easy to forget things later. At the end of the month, go, well, this is kind of a good month. I think it was a good month, but how can I tell? I would like a spreadsheet, please. I would like a chart with graphs and points. If Exist app doesn't work for me, I'll just do some kind of Excel spreadsheet and check in every day. And I think that will be interesting. I really want to make this useful for myself, and also something that will be useful for others. This is admittedly a very privileged idea. I am sitting here in this chair as a full-time author, a full-time creative person, talking about how I need to get some more creativity and, find the time and the money to do that kind of thing. Not everyone will be able to participate in even a week of this, let alone a year of this. But I acknowledge that, and I am also grateful that I get to play in this way. The whole idea behind this is bringing play back into my life. I have had very little play. And that is completely my fault. I have just been, nose to the grindstone, wearing my little nose right down to the nub. Completely my fault. I'm reintroducing play. So I'm super excited about that. Every month I will write the essay and send it out about how that month went, how it felt, what I did, what happened, what stories I have to tell. Eventually those will be collected into a year-long memoir. Probably won't be out for a couple of years, obviously. This is a soft sell if you would like to get those essays as I write them. The first one, the introduction, just went out yesterday. You can grab that. You can grab all my old essays for as little as $1 a month over at patreon.com/Rachael, Rachael. And while we're on that topic, I sent this idea out to my newsletter list and put it on Facebook and stuff. And I have a bunch of new patrons, which is so exciting. And it makes me feel like this is something that people want, because there's not usually this kind of influx in my patron level of people pledging $1 or more a month just to support me. So let me real quick read them off. Thank you to Beth, to Lefty, darling Lefty, to Donna, to Jen, to Lynn, to Rebecca, to Holly, to Joanna, to Kim, to Maureen, to Emily, to Kay, to darling Melody, to Jenna, to Antoinette, to RL, to Kate, to Jeff and Will. Thanks, Jeff and Will, guys. To Kelly, and to Asilimar Pagrovian. Thank you, guys. And thank you with all my heart to all the patrons who have been supporting me up until now. It makes me feel like I can do this. Like, you believe in me, and like, you want to hear about it, and you want to think about filling your own creative well, and play, and being grateful and happy for what we have as long as we have it. So that's my push for that. And just an other update, my agent got back to me about the thriller. She says it is 80% great and 20% needs some work. And damn, I could take that. That is fantastic. I can't wait to get her notes so I can get back to revising that again. I sent her the 3rd revision. This will be in the 4th revision, and then we're going to take it out. And I also published with my best friends a Christmas anthology called Darling Bay Christmas. That has been available and has been selling nicely. And it's about 45, maybe 50,000 words, 3 Christmas stories that we set in my fictional town of Darling Bay. And it was hilarious to write this. I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but the 3 of us, me, Juliet Blackwell, who's a New York Times bestseller, and Sophie Littlefield, went up to Sea Ranch and spent a weekend there, or a couple days there writing. And we decided it would be fun to write these stories together. And one night we were drinking maybe a little bit too much, and we decided to plot them out. And I was the scribe for this mission because it's my town. I know all the characters. I was going to be the editor, the continuity editor, to make sure that all 3 stories fit together. And I wrote down Juliet's plot. I wrote down my plot. Completely didn't write down any part of Sophie's plot. So by the time we started to put this book together, Sophie had to just make up everything from scratch. They were real champs, real troopers to take this lark with me, and it turned out really, really fun. It's actually a little wee book that I'm very proud of. So that has been fun and has been making me feel kind of festive, which doesn't always happen. Christmas can sometimes just pass me by, which is fine. But this year it's kind of fun doing that with them. So that's been exciting. And right now I'm in kind of this transition period. I'm going to be working on the Patreon essays to put them together into a book. I'm also working on my book on memoir, the Fast Draft, your memoir book that hopefully will be out by February, I believe. So I'm kind of pulling together little projects, and it all feels really good. It feels like I'm moving back into myself. You know what I mean? So I have talked your ear off for a little bit longer than normal, so we're going to get right into the interview. Please enjoy it. Please drop me a line if any of this stuff resonates with you, if you want to chat about any of it. I am considering putting together a Facebook group for people who also want to do this Patreon challenge of filling the creative well for a year. So if you're interested in that, if that's something I should do, hit me up on Twitter or email and let me know. That might be something I would do if I have enough interest. It might be fun to play that way. So enjoy Jeff and Will, and happy writing to you. I hope you get a bunch of words. And if you participated in NaNoWriMo in any way, shape, or form, congratulations. If you won, huge kudos. I am so proud of you. November 30th is one of my favorite days because I see all these people talking about how they won, and it's really exciting. So, okay, enjoy the interview. Goodbye. All right, well, I could not be more pleased today to welcome 2 people. This is my first twofer, everybody. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Will.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, I'm just thrilled. I would like to give you a little introduction. Jeff Adams and Will Knauss are husbands, authors, and podcasters based in Northern California. They write gay romances, sometimes together and other times separately. Jeff also writes young adult LGBT fiction, and together they host the awesome podcast, Jeff and Will's Big Gay Fiction Podcast, a weekly show devoted to gay romance literature and the pop culture they love. Before we jump into all of the questions that I normally ask, I want to ask, like, how did this come about, this podcast? Because this is really something that really didn't exist for a very long time. What made you guys want to do it?
We listen to a lot of podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Most of them centered, like this one, around writing and the craft and the process and being indie authors and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we were looking around the gay romance space, and there's not a lot.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that are out there, and we decided we wanted to start one because we love to read it. We love to write it. And then you wrap the rest of the package around it, where we also talk about a lot of pop culture. So it's
Yes.
movies, it's music, and TV, usually with an LGBT angle on it. But, we might talk about Thor, too, just because we saw the movie.
Oh my God. And wasn't it awesome? I loved that
It
movie.
totally was.
I am still not over it.
And so, yeah, 100 and something episodes later and 2 years down the road.
You're not divorced. You're not.
No, and we have a good time every Sunday when we come in here to record.
Yeah.
And it translates on the air. It really, really comes through. A few years back, my wife wanted to start a podcast with me, and I sadly shut it down. But like, and I still think I did the right thing. But listening to you guys makes me want to revisit that. I do not need an extra podcast, but it's really cool listening to you guys. So I would like to talk to you as writers today, more than just podcasters, although that's not a jest. And tell me about each of your writing process. All these questions you could jump in. It's kind of like you're on a tiny, tiny little panel on my show. So take it away. What's your writing process like?
My answer is quite short. I don't have one.
I love that answer. I've never had that answer.
Yeah, I am at the very beginning of my writer's journey. Actually, the episode you just did with Jay on Pedal to the Metal about the professional mindset versus an amateur mindset or wannabe mindset. I am still, unfortunately, very much in the amateur category still, with hopes and forward momentum to professionalism.
What do you, and you left a great comment at the site at the Pedal to the Metal about, going back through Joanna's book, Business for Authors.
Yeah.
You already have all this knowledge. Is there a moment at which you feel like you'll turn pro, or do you want that moment to happen, or are you just kind of moving toward it slowly but surely?
Yeah, I definitely do personally want to turn pro, but we'll get to my issues in a couple of other questions.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Because boy, do I have issues around process. Jeff here is most definitely a professional, and he handles his writing in a very, very professional manner.
How so? Jeff, tell me about that.
Well, before I jump into mine, I want to tweak a little bit on his, because while you're still at the beginning of your journey, I think it's important to say that where kind of we consider ourselves having a business of what we call J&W Books.
That sounds very professional, Will.
Exactly. But
I'm going to call you a pro.
He really keeps us up to date on like what's happening in the industry, what's happening in gay romance. He reads a lot more about the industry than I'm able to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think to that side, he's very much the pro while he's getting his writing process sorted out.
That is a huge advantage to have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how enormous is that? That's awesome.
Yeah, it helps me be pro because he's doing that.
Heck yeah, he's doing. You're doing the manual labor over there and bringing it home. So, what is your process like then?
In terms of my process, it's evolved a lot over the last book that I've been writing. So the last couple months, because I've moved from doing regular hands on the keyboard to going to transcription.
Ooh, how's that going for you?
And dictation. It was really amazing. My word count jacked way up, which I appreciated. I was doing 600 to 650 words in a 20-minute sprint on average, and now I can average around 1,000.
Holy cow. Nice.
Yeah, so, that's a lot more production. If I'm in the zone, I can get that 1,000, words. And so that's kind of transformed things, and I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm editing that book now, so I get to see how accurate some of that worked out and how long, if it expands the editing process. So far, not. So fingers crossed on that.
That's great to hear.
But in general, I'm up at 4:30 and in front of the computer by around 6-ish. Yeah. 6:30. And writing for the 2 to 2.5 hours before the day job kicks in.
Can I ask you what you're doing in that hour and a half to 2 hours before you land at the screen? Because I think I would just go back to bed. I mean,
it's get up, it's workout, have some breakfast, take the shower.
Have a coffee.
Well, the coffee comes after the shower. As I'm coming in to start writing, there's the coffee that comes with me.
That's your reward. Yeah.
So that's that time before, and maybe because of my day job, taking care of some stuff that happened in the overseas side of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you work out of your home for the day job?
And that's a big plus because right here at this very same computer I'm standing in front of now, I can close Scrivener and open up something else. And
do you have a problem separating hats? I mean, putting on one hat and taking off the other?
I don't think so, which is strange, I think. But I'm a project manager, like what I do, so I'm pretty good about
it.
Yeah. And plus there was in my before I was a journalist. So I would hop between stories themselves and what I'd be working on too. So it all kind of blends together, I think, for me.
And then how long do you write before you start the day job normally?
It's about 2 hours.
Yeah, that's nice. You can get a lot done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed?
I'm usually down by 9, at least reading.
Yeah.
And then kind of drifting and watching Big Bang Theory if it's on.
I was a 4 a.m. getter-upper for a long time, and I swear I went to bed at like 7:30 sometimes. I need my sleep. All right, what is the absolute best or worst writing advice you've ever been given?
This was an interesting question. I think the best advice was around getting out of your head and really working hard not to edit as you go. Mm-hmm. Just put it on the page and come back and fix it later.
That's excellent. Will, do you have anything that you're trying to incorporate or throw out in terms of advice?
I think I've always been intrigued by the Ray Bradbury challenge. And for those of you who don't know what that is that over the years, whenever Ray Bradbury gave a talk, someone would eventually, ask for advice about how to get the work done or how to be a pro or whatever. And Bradbury would inevitably say, write a short story every week for an entire year.
Yeah.
And that has sort of become something most people, in the shorthand of the internet have begun calling the Bradbury challenge. And I don't think he was saying that necessarily that you have to, write every single day in order to be a professional. I think what he meant by giving that particular answer was forgetting all that nonsense about the muse and, kind of getting your butt in chair and doing the actual work so that at the end of a week you would have completed a short story. And plus, if you write, 52 stories in a year, he would say it's impossible to write 52 bad stories in a row. So one or two of them is going to be good.
I have never heard that latter part. That is great. And so true. And the thing that I always preach over and over is the more we write, the better we get. We can get better from taking classes and from reading. But I think primarily we get better from writing and learning from our own mistakes.
It's about practice. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to writing?
You go first.
Well, speaking to what I just said about Ray Bradbury, I think my personal challenge is getting my butt in the chair. I have a lot of resistance, as Stephen Pressfield calls it, surrounding, the creative process in general. I just have like weird, screwed up issues about that sort of stuff.
Or normal. There's a lot of normalcy there.
Getting in the chair is hard for me personally.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh man, this is the question I was dreading, and I hoped it would go away.
I accidentally skipped it. It's usually before the last one. You were mind willing me to do that.
It just didn't work long enough. It's hard. Do I have an issue around writing that you know of?
Nope.
Well, that is crazy.
Jeff is so grounded and like issue free. It's absurd.
Aww.
Yeah.
I will say that there can be days especially if it comes off a book that I've read that is epically awesome,
Oh.
that I can go, I get into a weird spot for a few days. Like, why am I doing this?
Right.
You
I
know,
could
you get
never do that.
that imposter syndrome thing.
Hmm.
And I work hard to tamp it down because I also realize that I have these finite windows to write in, and I don't have time to screw around with that problem.
Good. God, that's sensible. That's really sensible.
And
Okay,
sometimes,
go on.
sometimes it doesn't.
What is your biggest joy when it comes to writing?
Creating the characters.
Really?
I mean, and then getting to write them over and over again, and because I've had my first novel turned into a series, well, a trilogy, and I'm writing a new series now, and it's like the boys in Hat Trick will forever be like some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
You know, because I wrote them over 3 books, and the new character I'm doing in this YA, he's so much fun to write.
What makes him fun to write?
He's a smart 16-year-old. I mean, because he's a computer genius who's a secret agent at the same time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And what he does, and the whole trying to write kind of mystery thriller stuff was way different than writing romance, obviously.
I can identify with that, yes.
And figuring out what he does and how he does it, and the steps to getting from A to B, and figuring out where his weaknesses are, what he'll fail at, because he can't be awesome all the time, because that's boring.
Yes. Awesome.
And it's fun.
Oh, that's so cool. Will, how about you? What's your biggest joy in writing?
I think learning and exploring process. I just have a really deep love for storytelling in general and all of its forms.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a deep love for process porn. That's what I call it.
Me too. That's why I started this podcast.
Writing books or articles from, different writers or biographies or anything about craft. I just love that. So I think that, joy is sort of the eternal, never-ending search for knowledge, and because you can always learn something new.
It never gets to a point where you'll be like, well, I'm good now.
Exactly.
I know it all, which is fabulous. It just really excites me. I heard, speaking of Joanna Penn, I heard her on her most recent podcast. I think it was recent, but she was like encouraging all writers to write a book about writing. And my brain at first went, what? No, don't do that. And then my second reaction was, oh, that's a great idea. I want to read them all. I'll buy them all and read them all.
Right.
So not a problem.
Exactly.
Can you guys share a quick craft tip of any sort?
I still don't feel like I know craft well enough to say that.
You have written books. You know craft.
Yes. It is a perpetual learning process.
It
You
really
learn
is.
something new with every book.
Yes.
My tip on craft, I have to mention a book called Romancing the Beat by Gwen Hayes.
Great book.
Yeah, if anyone out there is writing romance, you really need to get your hands on this book and flip through it.
Yeah.
It's helped us most definitely, especially in a co-writing project we recently did. It's really good stuff.
Co-writing together on that project?
Mm-hmm.
How?
Yes.
I don't know how you guys do it. That's just, you podcast and you write together. Wow. My wife Lala and I are working on a graphic novel together, but it's completely separate. I wrote the graphic, I wrote it, and now she's illustrating it. So we're in very different rooms. And I love being around her. She's my favorite person, but we don't want to work together. So that's amazing. That's awesome. Jeff, did you think of a craft tip, or we can also?
Here's what I'll say. Don't be afraid of your editors.
Oh yeah.
Because I did this with the first of these YA thriller books. It's like, and it was like the third round of edits I was getting back from the publisher, and it was like the worst set of edits I'd ever seen in my life.
Ouch.
And it was a really rough go for me. But at the end of it, it was like, the book is so much better now, and she really did a good job. And so the same editor came back in the second book that I did for continuity, thank goodness. And she did all this stuff, but it's like, okay, can we have her, and make sure she's on book 3 now too, because I want that.
Yeah. And
And so many
editors,
people go, oh, edits. And you did this with the co-write because you'd never seen edits from Dream Spinner before. And he was like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, these are nothing.
I just always feel like edits make us feel like the worst writers in the world. When you see all of that blood on the page and all of the ways that you need to clean everything up, it's so hard, but so awesome. And these editors really know what they're doing. They've done
Yeah,
this so many times and we haven't. They're I say my editors, I've been really lucky. They've always been right. They're always right.
I try so hard to take the learning away from that.
Yeah.
And nothing makes me happier than what I got in book 2 of this series, was like, I could tell you that one hard editor was like, I could tell you learned from what we did the first time.
Fantastic. That's the way it should go. And that's honestly, for me, the best way to learn. You know, if somebody is telling me something about my work, it finally sinks in and I finally get to understand it. That's awesome.
Although I'll never, ever place commas correctly.
No, nor will I. The commas are just the most belligerent little suckers. And when I get my copy edits back, that's when I doubt myself as a human being. Because I've been doing this for a long time. I should know how a comma works. And apparently I don't.
No, I've just embraced that I will put them plases and they'll get moved. And
they'll get moved. Exactly.
Thank God I don't pay people by the number of commas they move.
That'd be bad. That'd be expensive. All right. Well, when you have self-doubt or dark days about this whole proposition of writing, how do you deal with it?
I have to comment about this on Pedal a few episodes back. There's a musical called Title of Show, which is about two guys writing a musical about two guys writing a musical. It's all very meta.
I love.
But the whole show kind of ties back to creativity. And there's a song in particular called Die Vampire Die, which turns that whole self-doubt, imposter syndrome, all of that, and boils it down into the song that you have to go stake the vampires.
Oh, I love that.
And I will go listen to that. That's like the thing that can pull me out of a creative funk a lot, is the whole show itself. But that song and a couple others in the score are just really hone in on that. And then you're singing this happy little song and you're like, okay, all better.
I am going to get the soundtrack and listen. That sounds really, really awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, Will? How do you handle the self-doubt?
I usually just wallow in it. I think over the years in my battles with resistance, I think I pretty much learned that if I'm feeling it, I need to sit in it and experience it, and then and let it go, because tomorrow is going to be another day, and I'll feel better tomorrow. But yeah,
I think you guys should really come move in with me. So so you could just tell me these things when I have my own self-doubt and dark days. You're both very, very grounded. Okay, but on really bad days, if you couldn't do what you're doing now, you had to do something completely different, what profession would you choose?
I would. I've always been intrigued by the idea of being a Broadway usher.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
If we still lived in New York and couldn't be doing what we're doing right now, I think I would try to get in the union and go be a Broadway usher.
Heck yeah. I love that. Okay, what about you, Jeff?
My follow-up question on that is, what show would you want to usher?
Oh, I don't really care. I don't think it actually matters.
It might change every 6 months, the one you wanted to do. But if it's a dream job, you can just jump. You can do any show you want.
Exactly.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly.
For me, I want to run a bookstore.
Oh my gosh, you're crazy.
I am crazy.
I hear that's terrible.
I want to do a bookstore that is like the Ripped Bodice.
Yes.
I love
please do that.
what Leah have done. Mm-hmm. They've made it work.
Oh, will you tell listeners who might not know what that is? What it is?
I'm sorry. Yeah. The Ripped Bodice is a bookstore in Culver City, California. So that's down by Los Angeles. Run by two sisters, B and Leah Koch. It is an all romance bookstore. The only one, I believe it's still the only one.
I think so.
In the U.S., maybe the world.
There's one in Australia.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's cool. Good for them.
Yeah.
They've made this store that is welcoming, that is comfortable.
I haven't been. You've been? Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
Every now and then I go to LA for work, and I always go visit the store when I'm there. They've been on our show.
Oh, I'll have to look up that episode.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've never met two people who are doing so just they're doing what they're supposed to do in running that store, and you can tell it in their attitude.
I love that.
How they've decorated, how they do these handcrafted. She made a Christmas tree last year out of books. They ended up with all these used books that they'd recovered from some store going out of business. And she used some of the more beat up ones just to make this book Christmas tree.
That's heaven.
Yeah, I mean, they're so delightful, and their store is just incredible. And they do so much for their Culver City community and the romance community. If I could have a store like that, like I don't want to run a Barnes and Noble or anything. I want something with community and is curated. And
would it particularly be gay romance or romance all?
If I could do a store and make it work like Oscar Wilde used to be in New York, or How Different Light used to be, and have it succeed, absolutely. Yeah. Otherwise, I might curate to a bigger audience for the books that I like to read.
Yeah.
You know?
It is fun. I think you should do it.
It's such a pipe dream. There's a bookstore here, a used bookstore in the college town that's just down the road, that was actually on sale. You could get the Building the Books, the whole shooting match for like, what was it, like $1 million or something?
Like 1.2 million.
Yeah.
But it's in an old historical building, and it is jam-packed to the rafters. 2 floors of like a gazillion and a half books.
My heart is aching. I want that so bad.
Come on up.
Oh my God. What city was that in?
It's in Arcata.
Oh, Arcata. I was picturing Ferndale for some reason. Yeah.
it would fit really well there, too. That building could so be in Ferndale.
Yes.
But look up the Tin Can Mailman, and you'll see. I think it's off the market now, but it was up for a while.
The Tin Can Mailman. Oh, my gosh. Okay, pipe dreams. That's a really good pipe dream. Okay, but speaking of books, what is the best book that each of you has read? And tell me why. Most recently.
John Green's new one, the
I haven't
Turtles
read
All the Way Down.
What's it called? Turtles All the Way Down?
Yeah.
What did you love about it?
He's such a master of writing realistic teenagers who live right now, you know, and this one in particular, Asa has, I don't know what her mental condition is, but she's got voices in her head that just like, are you sure you did this? Make sure you did this. You got to make sure you did this. Go check it right now. I don't care what you're doing. And the way he built her character and helped you live inside her head so much was so powerful. The audiobook, I did it on audio, and it was outstanding too with the narrator. I think it's Kate Rudd. I think it's Kate Rudd that did it. Just outstanding. And the whole story he did too. He painted on a bigger canvas than he did with Fault in Our Stars, where it was really just the two.
It was very intimate, yeah.
And there's more happening in this book, so that was also fun because I own other John Green books, but I've only read Fault and the collaboration he did years ago with David Levithan.
Yeah, the boy
so
one, yeah.
Will Grayson.
That's it, yeah.
So reading Turtles was a really fun time, and almost gave me book hangover.
Oh, I can't wait. That's so high on my list right now. That's awesome. Will, would you concur with that? Or do you have one of your own favorites?
I have never read John Green. Right now, I'm sort of in the midst of reading a ton of holiday novellas. As we record this, we are heading into the Thanksgiving weekend, and that is, of course, the time when all independent authors and the publishers release all their holiday books out.
I'm literally doing that right now. Like,
exactly.
That's what I'm going to hang up and
diving into warm, fuzzy holiday seasonalness is what I've been up to lately. Yeah.
Don't you love that? I love that feeling. I love it. And what would you like to tell us about right now? What would you like to plug while I've got you on the show? Obviously, your podcast.
Yes, Jeff and Will's Big Gay Fiction Podcast at biggayfictionpodcast.com.
Great.
New episodes every Monday.
And you have a Patreon, which I am proud to be a sponsor of, which is
yes,
fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Patreon.com/
Big Gay Fiction Podcast.
Perfect. And would you like to tell us about your latest book or series or what?
My latest is the first book in the Codename Winger series, which is my YA cyber thriller book. It's called Tracker Hacker.
Which is such a great name. I love that name.
It's got good alliteration and rhyming, and I mean, it's not good alliteration, but it seems like it does.
Yeah.
Came out just about a month ago in October. And then book 2, which is called Schooled, will be out sometime in the spring.
Fantastic. And is that through Dreamspinner or Indie?
Harmony Inc.
Harmony Inc.
Press, which is Dreamspinner's YA imprint.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Awesome. Cool. Okay. Thank you so much.
He's got one.
Oh, yes. Wait. Before we go, I wanted to quickly mention that co-writing book that we spoke of earlier. It is actually being released this January, middle of January 2018. It is a gay romance, and it's called The Hockey Player's Heart.
Oh, I love that. And how is this your first co-writing romance together?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Is it just like your baby? Like, I bet you're really proud of doing that together.
We are. Like Jeff mentioned, the editing process was really difficult for me. He was old hat at it.
Right.
It didn't bother him at all. But me going through it the first time, it was kind of stressful. But I'm really, really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah. Nathan Bransford, if you know him, he's a literary agent, but also writes, I believe, young adult. I always quote him because he said once that getting your first editor's letter is like witnessing or hearing a nuclear explosion. It's just nothing makes sense. And like 24, 48 hours later, you start to go, oh, all right. But at first it just does not work. Nothing. Because, you sent them your best effort. What is this? I can't fix it. Yeah. And then you fix it. It's awesome.
And then you fix it.
I love revision. I love it so much. Thanks you guys so much for spending this time with me. This was a absolute treat.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving and into the holidays with all that. Happy writing.
Thank you.
Bye.